Resolutions 12-180, 1 through 13.
I have one on this too.
Okay, what number, David?
Number 1, please.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
This is the emergency thing that the people haven't had the certification yet. So this is more for the new members, I think, who maybe haven't been through this process before. Could we just, and it's one sentence, the non-pedagogic staff members who have not been cleared by the New York State Department, save law be and hereby approved to work for an additional 20 days commencing November 1. Could we just have a little summary, without going into the whole thing if we don't need to, but what should have happened, and this is not about a failure on anybody's part, it's a process question. What should have happened under the law, let's say, that didn't, and what happens in the next 20 days, and are we sure they're going to get it, or will you come back and ask for more? What happens? 180-1.
Well, conditional appointments happen occasionally when we have to check on fingerprints. Fingerprint clearance is 72 hours, and occasionally an emergency arises where we have to have somebody in place right away.
It's deemed to be one that is conditional. It's been in effect, as you well know, for many years here in the district, giving the allowance, and I think it gets repeated every month in our personnel resolutions under this header, which does provide not that we have to hire someone or not that someone is actually being hired. It's simply the ability to do so in the event we were to need someone to fill a position in the short term.
Well, this is not about particular people. It is. It's people who are listed in that other resolution, right?
I don't know specific to this one that you're talking about.
It's 12.
But it does.
That's what it says.
Yeah, it says. This one's
It's called 8212.
The question is, how, I mean, these are people who started at the beginning of the year?
Well, they started at the date that was indicated.
11-9. 11-9, 10-27.
Okay.
One was October 24th.
One was October 24th.
Okay, so these are really short-term that it didn't happen, and the expectation is that within the next 20 days, they'll have all of those approvals. I mean, we understand the
That's
obvious
it.
question. Right. In light of, things that happen and people coming in, and this law is here for a purpose. And again, I'm not trying to, this is not about circumventing, I'm not going there, I'm not pointing any fingers. It's just a process question. That the law is there for people to be checked and vetted and certified and fingerprinted and whatever happens. And I understand that sometimes it can't happen in 72 hours, and that thank you for that clarification. So we're now getting 20 more days, and then what happens at the end? The assumption is that if they didn't get certified in the first week, certainly 20 more days should be enough. 20 days?
Typically, it takes anywhere from 72 hours to a month.
Okay.
And it depends on.
Why a month?
I've had instances where people's fingerprints have come back smudged, so we have to redo it.
Okay.
And things like that
Oh,
may
okay.
occur. So the 20 days is plenty of time that's needed in order to make sure fingerprints come back clear.
Okay, and so at the end of whatever time period, I mean, you're obviously at your office, right? And
Yes.
you're certifying that they're all at the end of that time. I mean, at some point, we know, again, especially with heightened awareness now, we know that we have whatever we need, even if it takes a few more days, that we revisit this and we're not slipping anything.
Yes, everything is checked, and then once the fingerprints are cleared, they are going to be approved again for employment, not conditioning.
I mean, that brings up something that, and I've spoken to Chris Ann about earlier today. I've written a proposed resolution just in this about this, about how we hire pedagogical and administrative staff, and take a look at our policies and procedures that I want to be presenting probably next week. But I really want to talk about how do we do that, what's our process, and then if there are any recommendations that need to be made, and having that done within a certain time period. So. But I'll bring that up next week.
Well, I've asked Mr. Kolahifar for next week's agenda to do a presentation related to from July 1 until now what are the activities he's engaged in, what are his observations, what are his recommendations. So that might be in line with what you're proposing. And so we can work from that in terms of just information. Okay? Thanks.
Great. Okay. Anything else, David? Or? No. Okay. Resolution 12-181, 182, 183, 184,